Welcome to the Future of Structures podcast, where we talk to the experts who are evolving our buildings of tomorrow. And here is your host, Adam Jones.
Today we interview Emma McMahon. She's the Director of Sustainability at CBRE Pacific. In 2016, she was awarded the Young Achiever of the Year award by RIC. So today we cover something she's very passionate about, and that's sustainability in buildings. So we go through the different rating tools like Nabers, Green Star and Well. We go through what they are and how they're impacting our industry, and also some specific case studies and projects that she has been a part of. We also cover in the next few decades what's going to come with the different rating tools that are out there, and also career advice she would give to her younger self who was just perhaps starting her career. So I hope you guys enjoy listening to this as much as I did speaking to Emma.
Thanks, Adam. Yes, my name is Emma McMahon. I'm the Director of Sustainability at CBRE. My background, however, was not in sustainability, and I think you'll generally find that any sustainability professional, my generation, perhaps and older, didn't quite study very many, or if any, sustainability-related modules in university as such. So my own network of sustainability professionals is very diverse. Yep. I myself have an honours Bachelor degree of Science, majoring in microbiology, which I studied in University College Cork back in Ireland.
Yep.
I then worked in a pharmaceuticals company for a while before moving then to Australia almost 8 years ago. So yeah, very, very different background. I do have a technical way of thinking, though, I guess. So I think that's definitely helped with my progression in the sustainability world,
yep.
Particularly in the built environment. But I worked for an engineering consultancy firm for time as well a few years ago, which led to working in or on a sustainability Green Star project. And that was probably my first exposure and experience with a sustainability project, which I really enjoyed. So, and enjoyed learning about the built environment from a very different angle. So with really a sustainability focus in mind. So this was something that I wanted to pursue, which has brought me here to CBRE.
Yep.
So I've been part of the sustainability team here for almost 3 years, and in the director role for about 18 months.
Yeah, cool. So did you seek out, was sustainability and buildings industry, was it something you wanted to get into your whole life, or is it something that kind of built and just by chance you headed that direction?
Yeah, to be honest, not really. I was always very, very passionate about science. Was convinced that was my career path. But when I began working after uni, it was in a pharmaceutical company, very much lab-based, and I really just didn't enjoy it. I'm much more of a people person. I do enjoy consulting, dealing with clients, and dealing with a lot of different people every day, whereas in a lab, that wasn't quite what my role was about.
Yeah.
So it's been quite an organic growth or organic step towards sustainability, where my passion for sustainability has sort of grown through my experience on projects. Yep. And the increasing knowledge that I have through those projects on the impact that buildings, particularly because I'm working in the property sector, that buildings have on the environment.
Yeah.
So buildings, residential and commercial, are actually responsible for almost 20% of Australia's greenhouse gas emissions. So knowing those kind of statistics definitely helps with my passion as I'm working with clients.
Yeah, cool. So you ended up now, you're at CBRE. Can you please just tell us a little bit about the company and what they value and the projects and the services offered?
Yeah, sure. CBRE is a global real estate services company. We actually employ over 75,000 people worldwide. And in Australia, we're the largest real estate services company.
Yep.
Provide services to investors, landlords and occupiers predominantly, but services everything from sales and leasing to project management, valuations, property and facilities management, building consultancy, workplace, sustainability. I'm missing quite a few, but there's quite a large service offering that CBRE does offer, and it's growing all the time. Our own team within CBRE is a team of 6.
Yep.
2 of which are embedded on a client account. So providing sustainability services directly to one of our largest asset services clients. And the rest of my team, probably the predominant service that we offer is around building ratings and energy ratings on buildings. So there's a building rating tool called Nabers, which we provide to a number of our clients, everything from a B and C grade asset to a premium and an A grade building, and building improvement advice, optimization advice that goes along with that. Energy audits, sustainability reporting, health and well-being advice, climate risk and resilience reporting. And that's probably what I enjoy most about the role is the scale and the variety that we can offer to clients.
Cool.
And the variety of our clients within CBRE as well. You know, we have landlord, occupier, developer, investor clients, and landlords of B and C grade assets to a premium and A grade asset. So the sustainability solution that you're offering to those clients is always going to be quite different.
Cool. So so with the Nabers tool, what is it, and does it actually have an impact on the sustainability of our buildings?
Yeah, the Nabers is an acronym. It stands for the National Australian Built Environment Rating System. It's a national energy rating tool, a performance-based tool that measures environmental performance of Australian buildings, tenancies and homes. Probably the most predominant tool within Nabers that's used is the commercial office rating tool, and also the retail shopping centre tool. It's been around for about 15 years or so, has had a number of different policies and legislation that has been implemented in Australia to support its adoption during that time. And essentially it requires an accredited Nabers assessor to go on site and assess the performance of that building. The assessor will look at the occupancy of the building, how many hours those tenants have been in the building. We'll look at the floor area size, the BMS. We'll investigate quite a anything as well that consumes energy in the building is investigated. To long story short, to come up with a 0 to a 6-star rating at the end. So the rating system works on a rating scale, and best practice is a 6 stars. If you get a 0-star rating, you obviously have a lot of room to improve.
Cool.
And when we do that rating, we'll generally give some advice as well on, okay, you're at a 3 stars, business as usual in your state, maybe 4.5 stars, and this is how you can improve your building to get to this standard. So that's a lot of the advice that we provide. But in 2008, there was a government tenancy policy that was implemented, which required all government-owned or leased office spaces to be rated at over 4.5 stars. So that definitely shifted the market quite a bit, where it put the ownership on the landlord to ensure that they had a 4.5-star Nabers rated building if they were to have a government tenant in their space.
Wow. So is that for existing buildings, or new buildings as well?
So that's typically existing buildings, and the thing is with the Nabers rating as well is that there's legislation also which was introduced in 2010, which actually now mandates a Nabers energy rating under specific conditions. So generally speaking, you do not need a Nabers rating because you can't get a accurate Nabers rating up until you've received your 2 years certificate of occupancy. So if you think about a newly developed asset, it may be vacant for quite a long period, commissioning still needs to happen, it's not operating to its full potential until at least 2 years after that certificate of occupancy. So the legislation in place, which is called the Building Energy Efficiency Certificate, or the Building Energy Efficiency Disclosure Act is the actual legislation, that requires that any commercial office space being advertised for sale or lease that is greater than 1,000 square meters needs to have a Nabers energy rating and a tenancy lighting assessment, so a BEAC, Building Energy Efficiency Certificate. There are some exceptions to that rule, and one of those is in newly developed assets. But for any existing building, you'd be hard pushed to prove that you need an exemption if there's no reason why you can't complete a Nabers rating.
Yeah.
So that legislation has really shifted the market as well, has held a number of landlords accountable for their energy ratings, because if you're disclosing an energy rating, you want it to be obviously a good one generally. Yep. So particularly if you're advertising quite a large amount of vacant space, tenants have become more and more aware now about what an energy rating means for them. They'll if you're advertising space vacant in a building that is, and you have a 3-star Nabers rated building, a tenant more and more now understands that means that their outgoings typically will be higher than if they were to occupy a 4.5-star Nabers rated building.
Cool. So what kind of
obviously there's some exceptions to the rule.
Yep. So is there any case studies? Yep. So what constitutes, say, a 6-star Nabers rating compared to a more average building like a 3-star? What would be the difference between these buildings? What kind of physical? Is it generally, better lighting, better renewable energy, or?
Yeah, and a 6-star Nabers energy rated building is going to be quite a combination of a few different things.
Yeah.
But the biggest impact will be your HVAC and your lighting.
Yeah. Okay.
Also lifts, that probably will take up about 50% of your energy use in the building.
Yeah.
So if you have a high performing plant and HVAC system, that gets you quite a bit of the way there. To actually get then to the 6-star energy rating, you're really talking about squeezing additional energy out of the building through extra sub-metering, monitoring the building very closely, looking at set points within your thermal comfort system, predictive maintenance as well, so that you're monitoring your plant on a more proactive way, so that you can maintain the chiller and the VAV units and everything in a much more predictive way to ensure that it's not underperforming.
Yeah.
There's a number of different technologies out there in the market now as well that help automate that process and mean that it's not just the facilities manager on site who's responsible for understanding all of the nuts and bolts within the building. There's a lot of different technology systems that help with that. Some even use predictive enthalpy rates and show you what the building was consuming the same time last year based on those similar temperatures. What should it be performing at tomorrow? What was it performing at yesterday? And it really helps the facilities manager and landlord understand their building in minute detail.
Cool.
So that it performs at its best.
Yeah. So you've done some work in Nabers and also Green Star, you said at the start. Can you tell us a little bit about Green Star and what that might be used for, just for the people out there who might not be aware of it yet?
Yeah, absolutely. The Nabers energy rating tool is very much performance based.
Yep.
So the building is existing, it's up and running. After 2 years, or after you have 75% of tenants in the building, that's when you can get a Nabers energy rating.
Yep.
Then but before that, you obviously want to design a good building, and that's what Green Star is about. Green Star is a rating tool, but is very much design based. So it's the bricks, the mortar, the glass and steel that goes into the building, and how you're designing it in as efficient way as possible. Green Star also encompasses quite a large amount of other credits in its rating tool that are related to broader environmental, social governance, sustainability. So you're talking about the location of the building and how accessible is that building to public transport for those tenants who are going to be occupying it. What waste contractors are you going to be using in the building to ensure that you're diverting as much waste to landfill or from landfill? And encompasses quite a large number of other features in that tool, whereas Nabers is very much energy and water focused. Yeah,
okay. So it's about 10 years. How old's Green Star? I think it's about 15 years old. Is it? It's really having an impact, do you think, from your opinion?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think in Australia it's definitely shown where it's just become business as usual now. Just like any new rating tool that enters into the market, Green Star probably would have had a bit of fight back from the industry in the beginning, because what they were designing to, or what they were requesting developers and landlords to design to, was very new. It was much more difficult than what they've been doing before, and equally suppliers in the market weren't as aware of all of the different things that needed to be complied with.
Yeah.
So over the years, as more and more landlords and developers have adopted the Green Star rating tool, we've seen a lot more buy-in from hydraulics teams, mech engineers, electrical, all of your services engineers. They're now on board and understand the benefits of designing in this way.
Yep.
There's a lot more research available as well, which demonstrates that yes, you're having a more positive impact on the environment, but more importantly to a landlord and developer, your outgoings are actually far fewer, and designing to this standard, while you may be, your development cost may be a little bit higher in the beginning, the return on investment is pretty short term, and you'll see the benefits much quicker because your outgoings are lower. I think they've actually estimated that your development costs are maybe 2 to 3% extra, but that your outgoings will more outweigh that in a few years down the line. Once the building is up and running and it's performing in a much more efficiently.
So do you think, from your perspective, do you think developers would be designing green if it wasn't for the rating tools like this keeping them accountable?
Probably not. You can't beat some legislation to keep people accountable. And particularly with the BEAD Act legislation that came in 2010, it's definitely made people more aware about what their buildings are performing at. Not so much on the developer side, but existing, like actual landlords of existing buildings, particularly where they wouldn't before have had any idea about how their building was performing. So at least, for example, the Nabers rating tool allows landlords to benchmark their building and their portfolio, get a portfolio average even in some cases, and it allows them to understand how they're faring now. If they were to spend money on it, what is the return on that investment, and they'll quite quickly be able to see where they can save some money.
Awesome.
On the performance of those assets.
I'd like to talk about another rating tool which I wasn't aware of at all until quite recently, and that's the Well tool. Can you just tell us a little bit about what it is? I think you're quite familiar with it, and you guys work with it as well.
So Sustainability loves a good rating tool. So the newest in the market is the Well Building Standard. It was piloted in 2013 in the US, and it's administered by the International Well Building Institute, who are also based in the US. CBRE's headquarters in LA was the first to achieve certification in the rating tool, but while it's very similar in very many ways to something like Green Star, and Green Star focuses, like I said, on the bricks, mortar, shell, and the glass and steel in the building. Well also looks at that and takes that into account, but it rates your space, whether it's an office, retail, residential, hospital, even school, basic commercial office tenancy, based on the impact that all of that has on the people that are occupying that space. So Well talks about all of this research that has gone in behind the rating tool as well. Research around the impact of lighting on your productivity, on air quality, on your cognitive ability during the day, on how important it is to occupy a space at the right temperature so that you're comfortable when you're working and it doesn't impact your productivity. So it's very much based on the productivity and health and well-being benefits of your workspace.
Cool. So
a really interesting shift, because Green Star indirectly has looked at wellness within quite a number of its credits, particularly around air quality, I guess. The air quality features and credits within Green Star are there more so from an energy efficiency point of view, but equally because there has been an understanding for quite a number of years that good air quality just equals good productivity, and Well simply builds on a lot of those features and brings them out a bit more predominantly in its rating tool. And equally, there's quite a number of features in the Well tool that talk about the importance of providing fitness incentives to your staff, having nutritious food options in the building or in your space, having awareness around mental health and the impact of a more of more connectivity as well within the space and engagement.
So
it encourages stairs, interconnecting stairs in the tenancy, and a few other features like that.
Yeah. So a bit more yoga, and so the company I work for, all the lunchtime food, it's always bloody pizza and all this unhealthy stuff. So I guess they would get a bad rating with the Well tool.
Well, you wouldn't get that point, that's for sure. But it's interesting working with some clients on the Well standard, because while yes, it says that all the research stacks up to say that if you're given a coffee and a muffin at 3 p.m. during your 3 p.m. slump, that has a negative impact on your productivity for the rest of the afternoon.
Of course.
Generally speaking, staff quite enjoy that too. So it's about being realistic about the different initiatives that you do implement in your space, understanding the culture of your workers, keeping people happy, but everything in moderation, really, and providing staff with the options to choose rather than blanket banning pizza, coffees, muffins, all white bread. And just giving staff the option of some healthier options if that's what they wanted to choose. Yeah.
So you guys implemented the Well tool at CBRE. So what did that comprise of at your company?
Yeah, well, in LA, we've implemented it now quite across a number of our offices globally. The LA office was the first to pilot the tool in 2013.
Yeah.
And since then, we've achieved certification in Vancouver, France, Spain, and we're now targeting certification here in our Sydney office. So it very much depends on the office and what's there already, but some of the blanket initiatives that have been implemented are sit-stand desks. So Well requires that 30% of your workstations should be sit-to-stand,
awesome.
Which I personally am really enjoying. If I can, depends on time of day that you get into the office, but they're snapped up pretty quickly. But I really enjoy standing at a desk, particularly coming to and fro from meetings. I find when I come back at the desk, I'm straight into the next task, whereas I do find sometimes when you sit, you get a little lazy for a little while and maybe not as productive. But the sit-stand desks is great. Some more nutritious food options. So we've reviewed our vending machines. And here in Sydney, we don't provide catering on a daily basis necessarily. And the Well requires that if you're providing food on a daily basis, that you should review what that food looks like. So we've simply updated our catering guidelines for our admin staff as they're ordering food to ensure that more nutritious options are being provided, that you're asking people if there's any vegetarians, gluten-free, celiac, that you're putting that option out there as well to ensure that you're catering for everybody. And organising some more events and workshops around health and well-being. So whether that is a nutrition workshop, a mental health awareness session, and tying that in with different charity days and awareness days throughout the year as are in the calendar. So Are You OK Day, which is in September, even tying it in with our own Sustainability Awareness Week and Ride to Work Day. So encouraging people as well to get out there and ride to work if that's something that they're interested in. So a lot of it is engagement related, as well as some of the design initiatives. So lighting as well is an important one. And we're lucky here that we actually occupy a building that has a 5-star Nabers indoor environment rating. So air quality and acoustics and that is generally really of really high quality. So we're quite lucky in the building that we occupy that we didn't have to actually change very much in our tenancy to comply with what Well was looking for.
Can you actually tell the difference when you're in a building with better air quality? Can you tell the difference in your own productivity and your own well-being anecdotally?
I'm not sure if I can necessarily compare a like-for-like comparison, but I know for sure when I worked in Ireland, I was probably sick 5 or 6 times a year. I know obviously weather and climate has a huge impact to play there, but in speaking to one of my clients just a few weeks ago, they've just recently moved buildings. They were in a lower grade building, previously a much smaller office, and they've recently expanded, so are now occupying a premium grade building here in the city, and already feel that they're just in a much better space. he himself was saying that he was sick quite regularly in the old space as well. So it'd be interesting to see going forward if that's something that improves, because I genuinely feel when you're in a good air quality building where filtration and HVAC is being maintained regularly, it has a really, really significant impact on your health in the building.
Awesome. So we've covered Nabers, Green Star, and the Well rating tool. Is there any, if someone listening wanted to implement some of the things or some of the sustainability kind of actions that are combined in these tools, what are some low-hanging fruit that people can take to make their building more sustainable?
Yeah, absolutely. I guess it depends on, first of all, I guess it depends on the building. If we're talking about landlord side, the measures would probably be very specific initially at looking at optimization. So work with what you have, first of all, get somebody in there to look at the BMS system and perhaps fine-tune set points and the schedules within the BMS to optimize what you have already. Yep. And that in itself can see some significant energy savings. After that, that's when you'd look at what money potentially and capex you need to spend on your building. Yep. A low-hanging fruit is lighting. Lighting is an easy one, particularly in the fire stairs and car park. So fire stairs are typically, lighting will be on 24/7. But there's a lot of new technology out there at the moment, really relatively cheap as well, compared to what it was even just 5 years ago, where you can put sensor technology in the fire stairs and also car park to dim the lights when the space hasn't been occupied, and then it once it's occupied, it goes up to full whack. And also looking at potentially some funding that's available from third parties, from government as well, that can aid some of these CapEx projects.
Yeah, cool. So moving forward now, so like there's obviously a lot of rating tools, and there's even more coming out now. So in the future, look, what is going to be the biggest change in buildings? And with the rating tools, do you think it's going to converge into one, or there's going to be more coming out, or there's going to be a role for the different types?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I definitely am not sure if I want to see another rating tool anytime soon. But I know that the Well Building Standards, so the International Well Building Institute and the Green Building Council of Australia are talking quite closely together about how we align those rating tools as best as possible. Well have already issued a crosswalk document, it's called, which just simply highlights that if you do have a Green Star rated building, you automatically tick all of these boxes within Well if you wanted to achieve a Well rating, which makes sense. Yeah. And now the International Well Building Institute are also talking to Nabers about their indoor environment rating tool, so that if you have an IE rating in your building, which monitors air quality predominantly as well as some other environment features, you again tick specific boxes in the Well tool. That being said, though, yes, while wellness is a very big buzzword, I guess, in property at the moment, and it was the logical next step, I think, for sustainability, was to move away from the environmental focus and very much around energy, water, waste, which is still important, and we still haven't finished the work there, but that moving more towards a social sustainability was quite a logical next step, and was where the Australian market, I think, was ready for. But there's now talk of a move towards carbon positive, and I know that the Green Building Council of Australia is developing a roadmap to carbon positive, which is really exciting, and means that we're trying to be more innovative, I guess, about how we design, manage, and operate buildings, so that we keep reducing the amount of impact that the buildings have on the environment.
Yeah. Do you think we're moving fast enough? Say 2050, we need to get to zero emissions by, a lot of people to, I think, limit the world to say 2 degrees in global warming. I might be getting the numbers wrong a little bit there, but do you think we're moving fast enough in the world for sustainability?
Probably not, but there's always more that you can do, right? And it's definitely an industry-led market without very much direction coming from government. It's really great to see that the non-government bodies and NGOs are making such a big impact here in the Australian market, with the likes of Green Building Council, Property Council of Australia, Nabers and the Office of Environmental Heritage, all of which are making such a huge impact in the market and really driving some significant change. So it's still, I'm definitely not disheartened, and I think with some really great professionals working together and collaboratively together, there's some really great things to come still.
Yeah, awesome. All right. Well, as we wrap it up, Emma, is there any for our younger listeners out there? Is there any advice you would give to your graduating self? You're still young in your career and obviously very successful as a director, and you've won awards like the Young Achiever of the Year a little while ago. Is there any advice you could give?
Advice to my graduating self? Wow.
Yeah.
I hadn't a clue what I wanted to do and I wanted to be when I grew up, I guess. But something that I've found really, really useful is surrounding myself with good mentors and leaders along the way. Learning from other people's mistakes and learning from other people's experience has been absolutely invaluable to me along the way throughout my career. Yep. And spending some time to figure yourself out as well. I've spent a lot of time on self-awareness, whether that's understanding your strengths and weaknesses, what your values are, and all of that really can be very, very invaluable in getting the best results out of your professional career.
Yep. Awesome. Well, thank you for your time, Emma, and it's been great chatting to you.
Thanks, Adam.
I've learned a lot, and I'm sure the listeners have as well. So enjoy your day. Hey guys, just before you go, one quick request. If you're listening on iTunes, please leave a review. It helps our ranking on iTunes so more people can find us and more people can listen to the experts who are changing our buildings for the better in the future for a sustainable planet. And if you don't want to leave a review, just hit subscribe so all our episodes just appear magically in your iPhone every single week and you won't miss a thing.